Hello, welcome. So this is it. We're doing it after weeks and weeks of talking about it. Finally live streaming board games for real. I've been chatting this up on the podcast and on my Twitter feed for, I don't know, I don't even want to guess when I started talking about the concept of this, but it's been a lot of hard work, but we have arrived. We're streaming board games on Mixer. Who knows? Maybe it's a whole new audience. We'll see. We'll figure that out. But I am pleased to show off that we now have a dedicated space to do this in. As I talked about in the last podcast, the studio that I was previously streaming video games in, I have now converted to just board games only. There will still be video game streams. I should make that clear. I just moved all of the video game stuff to my office. So the studio, my spare room, my little tiny shoebox of a spare room, the Nerd Cave, is now a dedicated board game streaming / recording space. So now that we've finally got to this point, the question is, what game am I starting with? If you watched the test recording that I put up on YouTube last week before last, maybe? I can't remember. Quite recently. You know that I streamed, or that I recorded a Dungeons & Dragons board game that is part of a campaign system. That is one of the games that I'm going to be running. The concept is that I'm going to be running a couple of games that are campaigns, so that you'll kind of be able to follow along. Every stream will be the next adventure in the storyline. That's the theory. I don't know how well that's going to work out in practice, because some of these can take like a couple of hours to run, so who knows. But that's not what I'm going to be streaming today, because I thought this is the first run. This is, the test to make sure everything works okay. There are a lot of moving parts here, so I'm taking it light. I'm doing something simple, and I'm doing something that hopefully is fairly easy to describe, because of course part of doing this is teaching the rules of the board game. That's not necessarily an easy thing to accomplish, so bear with me. This is all new to me as well, so hopefully we can get through this. So the question is, what game is it? Here's a little background on this. I was at a local board gaming store a while ago, Meeple Mart, for those of you in Toronto. Great store. No, I'm not getting a kickback. It's just a really good store. You should go there. And I went in looking for something else, and I don't even remember what it was. Probably Descent or something, because I was looking for games that I would be running on the stream. And they didn't have it in stock that day, happened to be. They are very well stocked. They just didn't happen to have it that day. So, I was just walking around the aisles, looking around, as one does, because Meeple Mart is one of those places that it's huge, first of all, and it is really well stocked, and there's just like, you can get lost just walking around looking at stuff. So all of the board game aisles are organized alphabetically, and I hit the D aisle, and then I found this. So you can't really tell from this shot the scale of this. Let me grab this and show you this. Look at this. Isn't this the most adorable box you've ever seen? So this is a game called Dungeon Roll. And I knew nothing about it. I just saw this box sitting on the shelf, so of course I had to stop and check it out. So I picked it up and shook it, and it sounded like there was a whole bunch of dice in there. So that was the first point in its favor, because I just love dice-based games. And then I turned it upside down and it said 1 to 4 players. And I'm like, well, you can solo this. So it's a dice-based thing called Dungeon Roll that you can solo. And it was under $20. So I'm like, yep, how could I leave this store without this? So I took it home and opened it up and read the rules and watched, like a YouTube tutorial. And it turns out that I chose well, because it is a very fun little dice thrower. So, and I think one of the nice things about this is, since of course we're doing this on Mixer and we're posting this on YouTube, a lot of the people coming to these videos are going to be coming from the world of video games, as I have, obviously. And there is some sort of shared mechanics between a lot of video games and this game, and I think this is a really good kind of on-ramp for people who are interested in getting into board/tabletop games, but they don't quite, sometimes it can be pretty overwhelming. There's a lot of rules to remember, and there's a lot of bits, and there's a lot of moving parts, so who knows, that can be intimidating. But something like this is really simple and really small, and I think is a really good on-ramp for people who are interested in getting involved with this kind of game. So, what is Dungeon Roll? The quickest way, the most reductionist way to explain it, and the best way to explain to somebody who's coming from a video game background, is that it is a roguelike. The concept is that there is a dungeon, and you are an adventurer who are going through the dungeon, and you're trying to defeat as many levels of the dungeon as you can. So you're just going deeper and deeper into the dungeon, net hack, right? So the way you do that, let me just get this out of the way here. So there is this oversized D10, and all of this does is, this is the counter that marks the level of the dungeon that you're on. This isn't rolled, this isn't a random generator, this is just a marker that shows what level of the dungeon you're on. So the objective is to get as much XP as you can. So this is your point value, this is your high score. And the way you do this is you have resources. So you pull these up here. So these are your player dice. I think they're called something else in the official rule set. I can't remember. These are your player dice. And this represents the resources that you have to deal with whatever you're facing in the dungeon. And the dungeon, the stuff that you have to deal with in the dungeon, is represented by, do this very carefully, these dice. These are the dungeon dice. And this represents the challenges that you have to face to conquer that level of the dungeon. However many, whatever level you're on in the dungeon is however many dungeon dice will be rolled to create that level of the dungeon and the thing you have to deal with. So, I guess we'll start with, on any given level of the dungeon, you will be facing usually monsters. And the monsters that you will be facing are goblins, oozes, skeletons, and every once in a while, a dragon. Now the dragon's a special case, so let's move him out of the way for a second, and we're just going to talk about these three. The things that you have to help you fight these monsters, or overcome other challenges, which we'll get to in a second, are mostly what are called companion dice. And your companions are warrior, cleric, mage, thief, and champion. And I know that the yellow on the white is kind of hard to see in this light. That is like a paladin helmet kind of thing, so that's the champion. Now, the rule is that any one companion can defeat any one monster. So any single die And you do this by, like, you spend your dice. So let's say, for example, that I am on level 2, and the dungeon dice came up with you're facing a goblin and an ooze. So I can take any one of my companions and go, I will spend this cleric to defeat this goblin, and I will spend this thief to defeat this ooze. And that's it. When you spend one of your dice, it goes into the graveyard. Now, let me back up for a second and point out these two dragon figures here. See these guys here? Those aren't part of the game. These do not come in this box. They wouldn't fit. These are from a different game. They're from the D&D Adventure system. But I just brought them out because there are sort of areas of the board that we want to delineate. So this is a Chardalon from Wrath of a Chardalon, and this is, I can't remember what his name is. What is his name? Grey Storm the Dracolich. So a Chardalon represents the Dragon's Lair, and the Dracolich represents the graveyard. So when you spend one of your die to defeat one monster, it goes into the graveyard. And die that are in the graveyard are dead. They're just there. You've spent them. And they will not come back unless something special happens, and we'll get to that momentarily. So, in addition to any single companion being able to defeat any single monster, each companion has a specialty. And thankfully, these are color-coded, so they're easy to remember. So, the warrior specialty is goblins, green and green. So let's say I'm on level 3 of the dungeon, and that 3 dice are rolled, and I get 2 goblins and a skeleton. I can spend 1 warrior to defeat both of those goblins. Or if there's 3 goblins, I can spend 1 warrior to defeat 3 goblins. Any single warrior can defeat any number of goblins. Likewise, clerics specialize in defeating skeletons, as you might guess. So any single cleric can defeat any number of skeletons. Mages, I know it's hard to see the color here, that is actually purple. So mages can defeat oozes. So any single mage can defeat any number of oozes. Now, that leaves these two, champions and thieves. Champions are the most flexible because any single champion can defeat any group of individual monsters. So, 3 oozes, 2 skeletons, 2 goblins, whatever, as long as it's a group, you can use a champion to defeat any single type of monster. Now, what do thieves do? You don't only encounter monsters in the dungeon, you encounter treasure chests. Treasure chests are exactly what they seem to be. They are treasure that you get, potentially, after you defeat the monster. So you have to defeat all monsters before you can open any treasure chests. If, let's say, I'm on level 5 of the dungeon and I happen to roll 2 treasure chests, any single thief can open any number of treasure chests. So thieves don't specialize in fighting, they specialize in opening treasure chests. That's that. Also, champions. A single champion can open any number of treasure chests. So champions are like the superheroes of the whole thing. Any single champion can do any number of groups of things. And so there is one more thing you'll encounter in the dungeon and one more type of die that you will have in your pool. The other thing you will encounter occasionally are potions. You can spend any die to drink any number of potions. So if I had 2 potions, for example, I could spend any one of these to drink both of those potions. And what potions do is they resurrect spent die from your graveyard. So if I rolled 2 potions, I could use any one of these to drink both of those potions and resurrect 2 die. Now, the thing about this is, you might say, well, let's say I only have 1 potion. What's the point of, like, if I have to spend a die to drink a potion and then bring a die back, that doesn't get me anything. When you resurrect a die, you can flip it to any face that you want. So it is, first of all, a way of, if you need something, of being able to get that something. And the second is, of course, if there are 2 potions, you can spend 1 die to drink 2 potions and then bring 2 die back, so you are, in fact, up a die. And that's it for the basic mechanics. So what happens is, let's say, for example, we're going to start a round. So you take all of your, I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. Let's say, here's my roll, and I have rolled some scrolls. Scrolls, so let's use this as an example. Let's say I'm on level 3 of the dungeon, and I have rolled 3 different types of monsters. And let's say these are the resources that I have to work with. I can spend a scroll to re-roll any number of dice from either my or the dungeon dice. So that means that if I roll 3 different types of monsters, that's a really bad roll, because that means I have to spend 3 different die in order to defeat them. I don't want to do that, obviously. So I would spend my scroll to re-roll all 3 of the dungeon dice. Or if I don't like my hand, I can also re-roll any number of my dice and hopefully get a better roll. So scrolls let you re-roll any number of dice. And that is it for the basic stuff. Now the special case is when you roll from the dungeon, dragons. Dungeons, dragons, see how that works? When you roll a dragon, that dragon goes into the dragon's lair. When there are 3 dice in the dragon's lair, the dragon awakens. When the dragon awakens, you clear away all dungeon dice and you have to fight the dragon. The way that you defeat a dragon is with any 3 dice of 3 different companions. So it has to be 3 different ones. You can use any combination, but they have to be 3 different ones. So I can use, a mage, a cleric, and a champion will defeat a dragon, and that's fine. When you defeat the dragon, you get some treasure, and you get 1 XP. Now, let's say I have been on level 1 of the dungeon. I've defeated whatever I've had to face on level 1, and then what happens? Then you have a choice. Every time you defeat a level of the dungeon, you have a choice to either press on to the next level or to retreat back to the tavern. If you retreat back to the tavern, you get however many XP are on the level of the die that you're currently on, plus any treasure that you've collected or any XP that you've collected from killing dragons during that run. And then you go on another run. And you do 3 runs, and at the end of it, you tally up how much XP you have. Treasure, if you haven't used treasure, and we'll see how treasure works as we go in the game. Treasure can do various things. Usually they can mimic what one of the dice do, but there's a couple of special cases. We'll go through that. Usually treasure is rewards you 1 XP. Some treasure is worth more than 1 XP, but if you still got that treasure, if you haven't spent it, at the end of your run, that counts towards your total XP. So that's it. You're really just trying to get as much XP as possible, trying to up your score. So if you're playing this solo, you're just trying to beat your high score. If you're playing this multiplayer, you pass it around, so like one of you is doing the active character adventuring through the dungeon, and the other one is rolling the dungeon dice for that person. And then you're just competing to see at the end of 3 runs who's got the biggest score. So that is it. That's the basics. Also, you do have a special character that you are playing. And you can either select these by choice, or you can just pull them randomly. And each of these characters, let me pull up the dice cam here, has special abilities. So the one I selected for our run here is the Occultist. So as you can see, hopefully, clerics can be used as mages, and mages can be used as clerics. So if I happen to be facing, 3 skeletons, and all I've got are mages, I can use that mage as a cleric to defeat those skeletons. They also have special abilities, like an ultimate, which in this case is Animate Dead, transform 1 skeleton into a fighter. So if I face, 2 goblins and a skeleton, I can use my ultimate ability, transform that skeleton into a fighter, and defeat both of those goblins, and I don't have to spend any dice to do that. When you use your ultimate ability, you exhaust your card just by turning it on the side, and you cannot use that ability again for this run. As well, once you have acquired 5 XP, you don't have to spend it, you just have to have it. You can level up, and you level up, flipping the card, and then the Occultist becomes the Necromancer, and you get a special, your special ability just becomes more powerful. That's all. But obviously, since we're starting our run here, we're going to be just the Occultist. And that is pretty much that. So I think let's just start our first run. And I mean, it sounds like a lot to absorb. It's really simple once you start playing. So if you start playing, and you'll pick it up in no time, guaranteed. So we are venturing into the dungeon. We are on level 1. Dice cup. So the first thing you do is you load up. You have 7 player dice. Load that up. Give her a good shake. And this will determine my starting pool of what I have to work with through this dungeon. And let's see, what do we have here? Whoa, that's a lot of thieves. 1, 2, 3. Forgive me, this is a little awkward for me because I'm having to work around the camera. So I've got 3 thieves, 3 clerics, oh no, and a champion. This is not great. It's particularly not great if we face a dragon, of course, because I can't defeat a dragon with these dice. Oh, that is the part I didn't explain, the roguelike part of it. So let's say I am at a level of the dungeon that I'm facing something that I can't defeat. If that's the case, if you face a dragon or there's any combination of monsters that you can't defeat, you have to flee the dungeon. And if you do that, you abandon all XP, all treasure that you've gained on that run, and you get nothing for that run. That's like dying in a roguelike, right? That run is a complete wash. If you ever face a level that you cannot defeat, that run is done. So you have to decide at the end of every level if you're going to press your luck based on the pool of die that you already have, or if you're going to say, no, I'm done. This is enough. This is all I can do for this run. I'm just going to take what I've got and bail. It's a real gambling instinct. But anyway, here we go. Our first run, I think, is probably going to be pretty short because that's a terrible hand. So, of course, since we're on level 1 of the dungeon, we are going to roll 1 dungeon die. So, here we go. And it's a goblin. So, like I said, any individual companion can defeat any individual monster, so it really doesn't matter here. I think our thieves are probably the least useful at this point, so let's spend a thief to defeat that goblin. So that thief goes in the graveyard, and the goblin is defeated. And that's level 1 of the dungeon. Well, that was easy, right? Sure. Let's not abandon our run just yet. Let's press on to level 2. So now we're on level 2. So we roll 2 dungeon dice. 1, 2. And okay. All right. So here, this is Interesting. So we've got a dragon and a treasure chest. Now, the dragon immediately goes into the dragon's lair. So we've got 1 die in the dragon's lair, and we have a treasure chest. So we could spend any of those companions to open this treasure chest. That might be the call here, because despite the fact that we're really early on, based on what we've got in our hand, I don't think we're going to be able to go very far. So maybe just getting as much as possible right now is not a bad idea. So let's spend another thief to open that treasure chest. So in the treasure chest, there's treasure. So let's shake that up and see. I'm not looking, I promise I'm not looking, what we get. So let me switch to the dice cam here. And what we got is a potion. So what that is you can use that like you would use a potion die. So I can use that to resurrect a dice from the graveyard. So that's really useful. So you don't have to spend a die. You can use that as a potion die. So that's really quite useful. And if I don't use that, that's worth 1 XP at the end of my run, or at the end of the 3 runs. So we'll put that, let's see, we'll put the treasure near the dragon. That's probably a bad idea, huh? All right, anyway, just so we can see what it is. So that's level 2. Now, I'm almost tempted to use that potion to bring back one of our dead thieves as something else, so that if we do get a dragon, we can deal with it. That seems like a good tactical decision. Why don't we do that? Let's risk losing 1 XP. So that potion goes back in the treasure chest. Let's bring back one of these as, let's say, a fighter. So now, if we face a dragon, we at least have 3 different companions to be able to deal with that dragon. So let's press on. Let's not abandon our run quite yet, because we just made a tactical decision. So we'll go to level 3. So that means 1, 2, 3 dungeon dice. And oh, this is bad. This is very bad. Oy. Okay, so we got a skeleton, a goblin, and an ooze. This couldn't be worse. So we have to spend 3 dice. There's no way around this. We don't have a scroll, so we can't re-roll. Oh, but maybe we could use our ultimate. What is our ultimate again? Let's see. Our ultimate is transform 1 skeleton into a fighter. That might be the call here, because again, we're trying to maximize how much stuff we get, right? And if we use this now, use our ultimate ability now, I mean, we're blowing it pretty early, but based on our hand, I don't think we're going to get very far, so that's all right. That means we can transform this skeleton into a fighter, defeat this goblin, and then we only have to spend 1 die to defeat the ooze. So it means we're spending 1 die instead of 3. That seems like the call. I'm going to make it. We're using our ultimate ability. We'll transform this skeleton into a fighter, use it to beat up the goblin, or ooze, it doesn't really matter, and then we'll spend one of our clerics, because we have multiples of those, to defeat the ooze. That cleric goes in the graveyard. And that's level 3. So now we have to decide, do we press on? We can still defeat a dragon if we get one. Our options are limited, but still not bad. And if we defeat level 4, it means we get out of the dungeon with 4 XP. So I say, we're not here to not go into the dungeon. Let's go to level 4. One moment, let me grab my beverage here. And give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that the stream is okay. As I realized I haven't actually checked that yet, and I should probably do that. And yes, it looks okay. Good. Okay. So we're gonna press on. We are going to press on. So level 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This begs a question. Let's cover this now. So you notice that it is a 10-sided die that we're using to mark what level of the dungeon that we're on. There aren't 10 dungeon dice. So the question is, what happens when you get past level 7? How do you deal with that? So you just roll the maximum number of dungeon dice that you have available to you. The chances are, if you've got that many, then you're probably going to get a dragon, right? So as you get further into the dungeon, it gets more and more dangerous, obviously, and the chances of getting a dragon increase. So that's all that means. So here we go, 4 dice. Rolling it up. Okay, well, this could be worse, I guess. So we've got 2 oozes and 2 skeletons. Let's make sure that's all in frame. So yeah. Well, we've got our class ability, which means that we can use clerics as mages and mages as clerics. So we could spend 1 cleric to defeat both skeletons, and the other cleric we will use as a mage and defeat both oozes. And that will leave us still with 3 different companions. So if we get a dragon on the next level, we could deal with it. So this is the tactical part of the game. It's like, well, yeah, I could do that, and obviously I am going to do that. I have to do that, otherwise, well, let's go in the graveyard. Otherwise, I won't be able to defeat this level, and I'll have to abandon it. But now is the big question. So we've still got 3 different companions. If we go to level 5 and we get a dragon, we can deal with the dragon, but there are some things we can't deal with. If we go to level 5 and we get 4 different monsters, we can't deal with that. Well, we're not going to get 4 different monsters because there aren't 4 different monsters. Now that I think about it, there are only 3 different monsters, and we do have a champion which can be used to defeat any single group of monsters. I'm thinking let's go for it. I mean, of course, let's go for it, right? At least on a stream. We're not playing competitively. We're just playing against our own high score, which we haven't even set yet. So that's it. We're just trying to maximize our score. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Woo. This is getting tense. Okay, all right. So we got another dragon. That dragon immediately goes into the dragon's lair. 2 oozes, a goblin, and a treasure chest. Well, I think the call is pretty clear at this point. We're gonna use the champion, who, as you remember, can defeat any single group of monsters, to defeat both of those oozes. So champion goes in the graveyard. We are going to use our fighter to defeat the goblin. And we are going to use our thief to open the treasure chest. And that means there are no more dice in our pool. What treasure do we get? We get a scroll. So as you may guess, scrolls can be used as scrolls. You can re-roll any number of dice, or it's worth 1 XP. So there's the run. There's our first run. We have 5 XP plus our treasure. So we have these little counters here that just have Roman numerals on them. So we know we have, for this run, 5 XP. I don't know if you can see that there. That's 5. And that's this run. So that is one run of Dungeon Roll. The standard game takes 3 runs, so let's reset. Everything gets reset, back to level 1. All the dice come back. We didn't get a dragon that time, but maybe next time. And we refresh our power. So, first thing we do is roll up our player dice. All 7. Hopefully we get a better hand this time. What do I do about that? Because the dice are stacked. Well, no, it's okay. Just do that. We know that those are the faces that our random generator gave us. So we got a fighter, 1, 2 thieves, 2 champions, which is never bad. And, oops, that was a mage and a cleric. So not terrible. Not terrible. I prefer something other than 2 thieves, but you know, it is what it is. And so we're going to go into level 1. And what shall we face on level 1? I know I didn't really need to use a dice cup for this, but I like using dice cups. Dice cups are cool. And look at my dice cup. It's got a D20 on it. Come on. And it's a skeleton. So I think probably the call here is to use one of the thieves, because the thieves are kind of the least useful, quote unquote, unless I get like 3 treasure chests, which that would be great, but unlikely. So we'll use a thief to defeat the skeleton. And that's level 1. We shall press on to level 2. 1, 2. Shake them up. Oh, 2 dragons. Wow, that hardly ever happens. Okay. Well, so both of those dragons go into the dragon's lair. And so we didn't have to spend any dice. That's good, at least. And we'll press on to level 3. 1, 2, 3. Roll them up. Roll them bones. Oh boy. Well, we got a dragon. So here we go. What happens is when you get the 3rd dragon dice, all of the other dungeon dice go away, and the dragon comes out to play. And so, as I said before, we need 3 different companions to defeat the dragon. Thankfully, we can do that. Oh, that's a level 3. There we go. So I say, doesn't really matter. So let's go thief. So again, since we have our class ability where we can use mages and clerics interchangeably, let's spend one of these. So we're going to spend one of these. Doesn't really matter which one. One of the, I think, the thief. And I don't know, fighter or... Well, we've got 2 champions, so we should probably spend one of them. And that way, if we do get another dragon, we can deal with it. I mean, that's the standard tactic, right? Unlikely, but nevertheless. So let's do that. We'll spend a champion. Sorry, that's out of frame. Spend a champion, a thief, and a mage to defeat the dragon. So dragon is defeated. All 3 of these go to the graveyard. But we do get a treasure. And let's see what treasure we got. What do we got? So we get an amulet. Again, these are also color-coded. So the amulet can be used as a cleric. So we can either spend this to defeat skeletons, or we can hold on to it, and it is XP. So there it goes into our treasure pile, and we get 1 XP. So as we have 5, we now have 6. I think that's how Roman numerals work. I remember from like, I don't know, 4th grade, 3rd grade, something like that. Okay, so now we've got a big decision. Do we press on? We go to level 4, rolling 4 dice. We can still deal with any combination of monsters that we get because we've got the champion. Or can we? If we get 3, yeah, no, we can. We can, because there's only 3 different kinds of monsters. So we can definitely, no matter what, we can definitely defeat level 4 even if we get a dragon. So yeah, let's press on. Oh, first we gotta advance the counter. Level 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh boy. Here we go. Okay, well, that'll do it for this run, folks, because we got an ooze, a goblin, a skeleton, and a potion. So the thing about potions and treasure chests is you don't have to deal with them. You can just leave them. It's always good to roll them because it means you don't have to spend a die to deal with them. So, I mean, yeah, this is it for this run, right? Because we got to spend... We have 3 different kinds of monsters. We have 3 different kinds of companions. So we have to spend 1 of these to defeat each one of these, which leaves the potion, which we can't drink because we have nobody left. So that's it for this run. So that's another 4. So we're going to end our run. And 4 plus 6 is 10. So we currently have 10 XP. So that is the 2nd run. Finally, let's reset everything. Level 1. And we're going to do our 3rd run. And I think after our 3rd run, we're going to end the stream. But I think it's going pretty well. I mean, I don't see any technical issues. There's nobody in chat right now, but that's understandable. It's a board game on Mixer, and it's the middle of the day. So this is the chance today. We're going to build slowly over time, I think, but this is also going to go up on YouTube. So the archive will be present for all to view. Okay, so we are going to start our 3rd and final run. All of the player dice go in. Give them a good shake. Okay. I say that every time. 2 champions, 3 clerics, which isn't necessarily bad for us because as the occultists we can use these also as mages, and 2 thieves. It really likes giving me thieves. I don't, you know, if you like giving me thieves, also give me treasure chests. How about that? Random number generator. Okay, so here we go. Level 1. 1 die. A dragon, of course. Of course. That's actually good because that means you don't have to spend a die. The dragon just goes into the dragon's lair. Chardalon's a little too close to my stuff. Move. So, obviously, we're going to press on. Level 2. 1, 2. Okay, a goblin and a treasure chest. So, I hate to spend a champion to just defeat a single goblin. That seems like a waste. We do have multiples of these guys, so let's do cleric defeats goblin. And we'll have a thief open the treasure chest, because again, we're just trying to maximize the amount of stuff that we get out of here with. And since we haven't spent any of our treasure yet, that will count towards our final score. And what do we get? What is that? Oh, okay, so this is a really cool one. This is, I know it's a little out of focus because it's a GoPro, so there's the focal plane. This is, well, actually we can switch to the dice cam here. That should be a little bit easier to see. So that's a town portal. And what a town portal is you can use that at any point to escape. So if you ever hit a level of the dungeon that you can't deal with, you can spend that and teleport out of the dungeon, taking with you all of the XP and treasure and stuff that you gained during that run. So it's a town portal. It's like if you've ever played Diablo, you know that, oh crap, I got to get out of here. That's what that is. If you don't spend it, as you can see, it's worth 2 XP. So that's pretty good. That's a good thing to have. That is kind of what we wanted. Let's put our character back here. Oh, you know what? What I just realized is we haven't leveled up. Probably not going to use it, but let's do that. Since we have 10 XP, we could have leveled up a long time ago, actually, in the previous run. But anyway, I'm going to do that a lot. I warn you, throughout any of these streams, I'm going to forget stuff. I'm going to miss stuff. I'm going to be 50 next month. It's just what happens to people. So our special leveled up ability is you can transform 2 skeletons into fighters. Okay, good. That'll happen. I often roll 2 skeletons. Not really. Okay, anyway, so we got that taken care of. So obviously I think we're going to press on to level 3. I mean, we can deal with a dragon, so that's good. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Oh, I should probably... Forgive me. There we go. That's a little better. I'm also going to miss what camera we're on occasionally. And... oh, okay. So here, finally, this is an excellent roll. Look at that. 2 treasure chests and a potion. I don't have any monsters to deal with. And I have a thief and a champion that I can open both of those treasure chests with. That's real good. So the question is, which one do I use? I do have 2 champions, so I'm kind of more tempted to use those, but no, that's foolish, because champions can do any number of anything, so it's better to use the rogue here, I think. Thief, rogue, whatever. To open both of those treasure chests. And because the champions are way more flexible, way more useful. So we've got two treasures to draw. And our first treasure is another potion. Oh, actually, we don't have a potion yet, but anyway, that's a potion. Obviously, you can use it as a potion to resurrect a die, which maybe we should do. Let's see what the next treasure is. The next treasure, our second treasure chest, is Thieves' Tools. I think these can be used as thieves, but give me 1 second just to make sure I have that right. I have a little, the game comes with this little reference card here, so from the treasures, Thieves' Tools can be used as a thief. So yes, that is clear. So thank you, little reference card. So there's our Thieves' Tools can be used as a thief. So again, you can use that to open treasure chests, and you don't have to spend a die to do it. We've got this single potion, but there's no point in spending, I think, a die to just bring a die back. But we do have that treasure potion, and we can spend this to bring a die back, and then make it any face we want. And then I think that'll make pressing on to level 4 a whole lot more feasible, because right now level 4 isn't that feasible because we need 3 different companions if we get a dragon, and we very well may get a dragon. So I say let's do that. Let's spend the potion, because that's 1 XP. If we succeed at level 4, then that's 1 more XP than we would have anyway, so we break even. And let's bring this back as, let's say, a fighter. Why not a fighter? Fighters don't get enough love, and we're not going to drink this potion. So that is level 3. So let's press on to level 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And on level 4 we find So a skeleton, an ooze, treasure chest, and a potion. So we are going to have to spend 2 die to deal with those 2 monsters. And as we have duplicates of both clerics and champions, that's the logical choice. Spend 1 of each to deal with each of these 2. And so then we've got this treasure and this potion, which we don't really want to deal with because we have to spend a die to do it, and if we get a dragon on the next level, we only have enough to be able to cope with that dragon. So as this is the final run, maybe we should press our luck. I'm thinking press our luck. So we're not going to open this treasure or drink this potion, so those go away. But we do have the town portal if we run into trouble. So we've minimized our risk. What we actually want here is a dragon, because on level 5, because we can deal with a dragon. We can't necessarily deal with everything, but we can deal with a dragon. So, I don't know, let's do it. If we run into trouble, we can boogie. Level 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh. Okay, so another dragon. 3 skeletons. You don't see that very often. And a treasure chest. So I think to maximize the goodness, what we do is we spend a cleric to defeat those 3 skeletons, and let's spend anybody else, doesn't really matter, to open the treasure, and that'll be it for our 3rd run. So let's see what we get treasure-wise. We get the ring. The ring of invisibility. And what this does is it lets you slip past a dragon. If you happen to get a dragon and you can't deal with the dragon, then you spend this and you can go past the dragon. You don't get the XP or the treasure from the dragon, but you do get to avoid the dragon. So that goes in our treasure pool. And that's our 3rd run. I think we have to abandon it from this point. So we have level 5, so we've got 5 XP plus our 10 here. Oh, and also our treasure. So that's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and town portals are worth 2. 20, 21. 21 is not bad. And let's have a look here, because there is a ranking system that the booklet provides. Okay, all right. Here we go. So we can see here, hopefully, you can read that. 16 to 23, we're the village hero. Okay, I'll take that. You know, it's better than dragon fodder. I mean, just better than dragon fodder, but you know, that's all right. We did okay. So there we go. That's Dungeon Roll. I think it is a delightful little game. I had tweeted at the creator, whose name is Chris Darden, who responded right away. I mean, this game has been out for a while. It started on Kickstarter. It's been out for a couple of years, I think. But there is an expansion apparently. I'm going to look into getting that, because what a charming little game. And again, really quick and easy to learn. It's fun to pick up and just play. You can play it as a very small footprint, which is another excellent point in its favor. And I think you know, a worthy thing to spend your time doing. So there we go. I think we're going to end the stream there. Thank you very much for joining me for the first, the inaugural board game stream in this studio that we now have dedicated to this. There will be more. On the next stream, I think we're going to go pick up from the Dungeons & Dragons dungeon crawl game that we played on the test stream that is on YouTube. So go and watch that if you haven't yet, so you can catch up with what's happened, because these are going to be campaigns. So there will be kind of a storyline to follow, or at least a progression to follow. And I think that's going to do it. So thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time.